Hi, we are MiTale and this is QuillScape, a podcast where we discuss about games as a new medium of expression through interactive storytelling and visual narrative as a craft. Here you will find all the tools and skills you need to build an immersive narrative experience in your game. As an indie studio, we also wish to discuss the importance of soft skills and building empowering company culture to nurture your creative drive. Hi everyone, my name is Natasha and in this episode of QuillScape Podcast, we will continue discussion on the best practices in interactive storytelling. This time I wish to talk about visual storytelling and how you can do some simple tricks to enhance the narrative experience without writing a word on the screen for the players. When approaching the notion of visual storytelling, which obviously contain visual and communicating elements, the essence of any visual representation is to hold the information, the core meaning and data which a visual form represents. That representation becomes a sign. Recognizing the information that a sign is carrying is the core principle of communication and storytelling. Semiology or semiotics refers to the science of signs with assumptions that cultural assets, such as language, visual art or music, are composed by signs where every sign holds the meaning beyond, in its literal self, according to Umberto Eco. Unlike other visual media such as static images or paintings, animated or recorded videos, games break the static and one-way directed messages into a form of a dialogue. The observer or player becomes a dynamic interactor with that message, making an impact through the actions and receiving feedback and responses from these actions. This dialogue is more successful as the game experience gives an expressive scope to the players, a choice, a variation in which player can respond to the given challenge in the game. This equips the player with the ability to choose how they wish to proceed the story and articulate a wide range of emotional engagement which are based on the choosing the gameplay actions. The set of actions that creators provide the player with are building the language unique for that particular game. Each game provides its own set of communicating tools through visual, audio, and spatial transmission, disregarding players' native language. This largely expressive vocabulary is given to a player gradually, as the story and the gameplay unfolds. The role of visual narrative and setting the specific aesthetic for providing interactive storytelling is to supply the right visual cues and the responding to the complex structure of game mechanics and design of the desired game experiences by its creators. Developers have their own goals about what game should communicate and the way it should be received by the players. Yet, in practice, we often see that players experience and interact with the game world in most innovative ways that even creators did not think of it at first. This is the most interesting aspect of the visual storytelling inside the games, as designers provide the tools to experience the fantasy while the players are the true creators of it. Visual storytelling is based on the familiarity of the concepts that it represents. The visual cues that are given to a player in each gameplay sequence must be comprehensive regardless of the possible interaction changes by gameplay modes, camera modes, avatar or non-avatar modes, change of controls and inputs. The gameplay experience must consist of a stylistically unified visual language in order to keep the communication with the player intact. If any of the visual cues is out of balance with the rest of the designed experience, the risk to break players' fantasy is higher. The methods of visual language of a game depends on genre, type of story it is set to be told, are they linear or branching aspects, choice of game mechanics, and the shifts of gameplay modes throughout the game. Regardless of the type of gameplay experience one is developing, the visual narrative should follow the basic principles from the traditional art theory, which are also widely used in film and animation industries, such as Building the authentic experience. This refers to the specific rules and characteristics of the world and interactions that player may conduct during the gameplay. Relevant topics or situations in which player can truly relate to, building the emotional engagement and relationship with the characters and the world inside the game. Atmosphere. Building the composition and variety of view angles. Lighting that brings desired atmosphere as colors and their values, building the contrast and harmony, forms and shapes, perspective and scale. As a takeaway tip, pay close attention to light and camera, no matter what project you're working on. Regardless do we speak of the 2D or 3D world, each movement of the player on the screen, we have sequences of screenshots, so to say, and think of it as each screenshot is own artwork for itself, aiming to tell a story and guide the player forward with the clear audiovisual cues of what needs to be done next. Light is your best friend. You can hide a lot of imperfections of game assets with the right lighting and camera modes. This is especially helpful in optimizing and making sure your game runs fast and smooth, as we all know how heavy assets can be for the performance quality. That's it for this episode. We will continue discussing this topic further, so make sure to follow our show at mitale.fi/podcast. There you will find our notes after each episode, and we would love to hear your comments, questions, and feedback. Feel free to share this episode with the fellow storytelling creators and spread the love.